Hello there, Bic Benedict here. We're playing God of War 2 on Titan difficulty. This is my no upgrade run plus, which means that we're not upgrading health or magic or any of our weapons. We're currently on Installment the 14th, and we're in the Temple of the Fates here. So you want to shatter this crystal here, and then pretty much just follow my lead if you want to be getting the red chests. So this is going to contain the Lachesis fight, the Atropos fight, and then the Lachesis and Atropos fight. I didn't have too many problems with the first two fights. I mean, the second, like the middle fight with Atropos is hardly anything to even talk about. But the fight when there's two of them, I had a little bit of trouble. So I'm hoping that you're not going to have the same sort of issues. But I think it's something that we can talk about once we get there, because it is a very well designed boss. If you want to see like this game at its ultimate in precision, you'll look at this boss, because it's just a marvel of precision overall. That it has its little minor problems, but by and large it's a very fair boss. It's just challenging when your weapons are so weak, I think, is one of the underlying issues. In the next video, we'll do the Loom Chamber, the main event, as I like to call it. And I actually just finished the Loom Chamber. It took me a little under 10 hours. I think somewhere like, I'm not sure, maybe it was over 10 hours. It was a pretty damn long time. If you look on my Twitter feed, I at no point complained. I never complained about the Loom Chamber, because it's all based on skill, and as long as something is based on skill and not involving a bunch of luck factors and other nonsense like the Protect the Translator section, you won't hear me complain. I really like the Loom Chamber. It's a very stressful fight, though. There's just no denying it. And since I'll have to talk so much involved about the Loom Chamber, I thought I would share a couple of reflections, because most of my deaths occurred on the first phase, which is a really difficult phase, with Juggernauts and Cursed Legionnaires, and then I got to the end when they drop off the Cyclops Brutes for you, and I got killed about 10 times on those things, and it's hard enough just to get there, but the pressure at the end is something I can't even convey, how much pressure there is with no checkpoint. But anyway, we're going to come up these stairs and then fly over the gap, and then here's the Throne of Lachesis, and the boss fight's going to start right now. What you're going to be doing is parrying here. So this would be a really difficult fight on Pain Plus, but since we're just doing a no upgrade run, we can freely parry. In my previous guide back in 2012, I cautioned folks against parrying the move where she spins and then throws a projectile at you. It's something that, if you watch my other guide, I jumped over. But on this take, I decided, not this particular take, but this run, I decided to parry it, and it's not that hard to parry. It's just a little bit more precise than the other ones. Stricter timing, to be sure. So she's got that 3-hit combo that she does. What we basically do is just we parry the first one, and then our Golden Fleece will go through the next 2 attacks and give us our iframes. This fight is pretty straightforward. It's just that it takes a long time to get her down, just like in the next fight. This one here, pretty precise timing. That's actually a projectile that we're sending back her way. I haven't mentioned it, but on the projectiles, all you have to do is activate the Golden Fleece at the moment of impact. You don't have to press any other button to send it back. It's obvious to a lot of people probably, but it's something that I always press square, even when I know better that you don't have to press square for the projectiles. I always press square. I'm not sure why. I just got into the habit of doing it, because you don't have to press square. You don't press anything. All you do is press L1. But if you don't want to do that parry there, just jump over it. It's a series of 2 blasts that you just jump over, or you can roll around, but I would try to get the timing for that parry. It's such a wonderful fight, this one here. I don't like when Atropos is in the arena. That can also be parried right there, but it's really uncertain about like what you're supposed to parry at that point, because she's sending out like 5 of those weapons there. And the little bomb that she detonates at times, that can also be parried too. So almost everything she does can be parried. But that right there, very strict timing on that one too. And then when you get a little bit further into the fight, what she'll do is she'll fly up and then fly down. Just don't be in the radius of her blast. And you can prepare a super plume for her if you like. There's adequate time to do that. And you notice that there's some grappling points over here. We'll latch onto those in a few minutes. This fight is not that bad. It's just when Atropos is in the environment, interrupting you and causing you to have to look all over the place and multitask. It's a little bit more troublesome. So she also does that. She'll fly up and then send a bunch of those weapons down for you. The more she does this, the more I would be grateful if I were you, because all you've got to do is just latch onto these, latch onto it 3 times, jump down, and then on landing, press the L1 to send these back. You could also use the grappling points to fly up to her and hit her with light or heavy attacks, or a combination of both, or the hammer. The hammer should send her down. Sometimes she doesn't do this with the frequency that she was doing it now. So 1, 2, just go back and forth. 3, land, parry, send it back, and it's random if you'll get a drop on her. So sometimes she'll just tank your parry. You also can't stand on the ground right now. It's instant death. Even if we had full health, it's still instant death. And I did have to put an edit over here, because when I got the circle button prompt for her, I had poor detection and I had to do it twice, but I decided to just link a couple pieces of footage together. But eventually she'll get a circle button prompt over her, and then you'll just use a grappling point to go up to there and fly over to her and press O, and there's no quick time events, not until the next phase. But we'll have to do something after, which is a really boring section coming up, and it was one that I used to try to farm for red orbs on in the past, because there's an infinite number of Fate Sentries that you can farm for red orbs on, but it's pretty difficult to stay alive if you're on Titan difficulty for too long, because the projectiles that Atropos sends out have just absurd radius damage for you. So we dropped her, and what I basically do is I just bust out my hammer when she drops, hit her a couple of times. Okay, so just keep working away. It's okay. So does she have the circle? There it is. So just bear in mind, guys, that I had to edit some footage. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. And then we're going to be on this phase. I'm almost positive that they give you, they fill your health up and your magic over here. So freely use your magic. I didn't realize that. Here's the projectiles that she sends over here. The idea here is that you're supposed to be shooting. What's this fucking thing called? I can never remember what the bow is called. Something Bane, Typhon's Bane. The game wants you to use that. It also I think it wants you to throw these at her. So those do really good damage, since collision is such a big factor in this game. And these guys also give out magic. It's something different that the game does just for this fight, because these guys never give out magic. I don't think they give out anything. So the combat roll here is pretty helpful. So it's just that if you're trying to farm for red orbs over here, it's really common to have the detection fail when you're trying to grab onto these guys, and her projectile, it can hit you when it's on the other side of the blade over here. It's really messed up. Slightly broken too. Of course, if you want iframes, just grab these guys and just use the golden fleece to knock them out of the way. See, I'm sure that would hit me. See, I knew that would hit me. It's kind of funny. So just exhaust all your arrows over here, your magic arrows. And then Atropos is going to assist Lachesis in the next fight. And I got really, really goddamn frustrated on this fight. I really hope that this doesn't happen to you, because for me it took at least half as much as the Loom Chamber. So probably 5 hours on this fight. I had a couple of rough days, like some arguments with family members at the time, and I couldn't like focus my mind on it as well. So I think that was actually a factor over here, but it's undeniable that it's pretty damn challenging. Yeah, Lachesis has a little bit less health on this fight that's coming up here, but that doesn't mean she doesn't have that much. It for our purposes, like with our shitty weak weapon, it still takes forever, guys. And I just hate it. I hate the fight. And if you haven't seen a YouTuber called Shinobi, I would highly recommend at least checking out some of his videos. He hasn't been active for like 8 years or something, but he's got some excellent footage of God of War. And I would say like the only equal I've ever seen to that guy is Taz1. Two guys that are just exquisite players, like so talented of players. And you know, I would check out their respective channels if I were you. But Shinobi, like I mentioned, he did this fight coming up, and I'm sure Taz did it as well. But on the last phase of the fight that's coming up in the next segment here, Shinobi did a lot of when I saw it, really impressive bow canceling and evading out of the way of her projectiles. And I tried to do it a little bit, but it takes so long to get to the final phase that just no incentive to practice it at all. So I don't know if I could ever do this next fight on Pain Plus, just because of this last phase. It's really hard. Like the stuff that she sends out at you is incredible. I think you can also parry her projectiles. I don't know if they get sent back to her or what. I think they do, but yeah, they do. They do. The detection is just atrocious, though. I wouldn't depend on it. You'll probably get killed trying to do it. But the Loom Chamber, not much to speak about, actually. I mean, if you can do it on the normal campaign, I would say there's a fairly good chance that you can do it, you know, provided you hone your skills a little bit and get some patience. But it's considerably harder than, you know, without strong weapons and with minimal health and life. It's much harder than the regular campaign on Titan with all your upgrades. Okay, so Atropos is behind a mirror, and she's going to be sending projectiles at you. So basically what you want to do is just don't focus on Atropos. Just focus on the main boss here, Lachesis. And what we're going to be doing is just parrying like we did before. And anytime that we need to get out of the way, if things are just crowding you too much, jump on the grappling points and just get a breather up there, and then come back down and just kind of reassess, you know, where Lachesis is and what Atropos is doing. And basically, she's got the same attacks that she had last time. It's just that she starts the her phase over here with that move that right there, that move where she flies up and flies down. It has very minimal range, and it is deadly, not necessarily fatal to you, but it takes away a good chunk of health. But it's really simple to dodge. And of course, you can parry back Atropos' projectiles. But basically, what we're going to do here is just try to get as much damage off Lachesis as we can. When the camera pans back like that, she's going to do this projectile that comes out of her fangs, like this little energy beam that you just saw. Sometimes it doesn't really activate until you go on the grappling points, which to me seems like it's kind of conditional on the player's movements, so a little ambiguous if you would ask me, because sometimes when the camera pans over to where she's in the mirror, it's only until I go up to the grappling points that she does her beam. So I don't know how to describe that. There we go. That's so satisfying to knock that bitch out of the air with a hammer. You guys, I can't tell you. And unfortunately, if Atropos is not in the mirror, like not standing out, like trying to hang out of the mirror, you'll have to reset the checkpoint probably, unless you want to lose progress, because it's just one of the flaws of the fight where if you don't see her out of the mirror like that when Lachesis falls down and gives you the time to press the Fate's armlet, you can't hit Atropos because she's nowhere in sight. So hopefully that doesn't happen to you. It's just a rare thing that happens occasionally. It's very frustrating when it does happen though. Okay, so when she's doing this, just get out of the way with the grappling points, and then you can fly over to Lachesis and do your combos with the Athena's blades if you like. And you could also try to just hit her out of the air with the hammer though. She blocks a lot though, the hammer. So if you can knock her out of the air with the hammer, you've done a pretty good feat, because she doesn't always let you do it, and hence the satisfaction, I would say. Okay, so we need to get out of the way because she's going to do this energy beam. It doesn't take much away, that particular attack, so if you just can't get out of the way, you'll take a little bit of damage and just shrug it off, I would say. So we're going to be stunning her twice. She'll drop a second time, and then the final phase is really nonsense if you ask me, because Lachesis will stand in front of the middle mirror and guard it so that you can't break it. The problem is she sends out all these really difficult projectiles to get out of the way of, and Shinobier demonstrates it exquisitely with his Typhon's Bane arrow canceling. But I couldn't do it, guys, without some rage and some magic. It takes so long to get to this phase. So my word of caution here: do not be on the ground when she's sending these pillars of light at you. Make sure you're on the grappling points, because you get killed almost instantly. See, the only way I got away with that is the iframes, guys. If you don't have iframes, just make sure you're not on the ground anywhere. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for that phase to pass and then just hit her with the rage. And she doesn't have much life. I suppose if we're doing this on Pain Plus, we could just wait for her to do her attacks and then just come down here and hit her with the Athena's blades. I might try that in the future, but that Protect the Translator section, guys, I think will always stand in the way of my happiness about Pain Plus. But we've got a couple of QTEs here, and you got to congratulate me because I didn't pause the screen. But I do in the Loom Chamber. Whenever I'm parrying back the Gorgon's projectiles, I pause it, and I'm going to edit that shit out. But I just want to warn you guys that I am doing that behind the scenes, because I can't do those QTEs on the spot. It's too much pressure, way too much pressure. Take care.